Welcome to RiverCity-Media and Reckless Speculation. You may see a new face, and you may see a face missing. First of all, we want to shout out Dealing with a Sickness. Guys, everybody says this is my show, and I guess it's my ideal to do a podcast and put River City together. But Robbie Davis is sick right now, dealing with just a little flu going around. But that is the heart and soul of this show. So we want to shout out to Robbie. Get better. And while you're laid up, why don't you study how to play fantasy football? Shane, would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I don't think anything that he can study is going to help his game. So he's
all right. Well, I got a thumb up. So I assume that was probably from Robbie. So I'm sorry about the shot about your fantasy football, Rob. But get well, brother. We'll see you back next week. Man, get back soon. But you see in the center square, while we wait for Raj, never on time. He's on Central Raj time. He'll be here in about 15 minutes. New guy, Tom Sloan, joining the cast of Reckless Speculation permanently. Tom, welcome. It just happened kind of like we said, come on and do this show. And you just fit into the crowd. And I think it's a natural for you to join us. Now, Speakeasy 330 is going to be coming back at some point. This won't interfere with that. Y'all still have Speakeasy 330. New form for you, though, to put yourself out there and to reach a new audience. Tell everybody about yourself a little bit.
Well, obviously, Randall said my name's Tom. I share a podcast with my co-host, Rich Jasper, here in suburbs of Detroit. We actually live just outside of Ann Arbor. So rabid Detroit fan, relentlessly Michigan fan. But I just like to talk sports and just basic things that are going on in the world. And I'm honored to be a part of this show that you guys have on. And I'm going to give a different view. I mean, that a little bit northern view that maybe hasn't been talked about in the past. But I'm just super excited to join this group of guys that intelligent, know what they're talking about, and I just think it's going to be a good thing moving forward. And I'm so honored to be a part of it, and I thank everyone that made this happen.
Well, thank you for joining us, but I do have to give one thing. We need another SEC guy. The Big Ten now outweighs the SEC guy with USC joining the Big Ten. And let me tell you, before Raj gets here, as soon as y'all let USC in, it's going to be the greatest thing ever. And he'll stay with that, Shane. Is that not correct?
Yeah, he'll like it.
He'll like it. All right, guys.
Looking forward to that happening.
Yeah.
Got a serious note to make, too. I want to thank everybody. I got something to flash up, put everything behind. We broke 80,000 visitors to our Facebook site in 28 days, guys. And again, last week I said it in the final words. Man, it's all striking to me that somebody read, watched, hated us, liked us. I don't care if they hate us as long as they watch us or read us or post opinions. But thank you. That's a lot of folks out there that's going to the River City page and reading and watching. Brendan, you've been here since we broke 100 people on a podcast and was excited about it.
Yeah, I know. It's it's been an uphill climb, but we've enjoyed every minute of it, and there's been really no expectations, and things just kind of started happening, and we're like, okay, people are actually paying attention here. So no, it's fun. We enjoy it. Happy to have Tom on. I lost the vote 3-1 for a Michigan fan, but it's all good.
Hey,
I'll take that. I'll take that.
And that's the beauty of it. Next month, if we do 12,000, we'll still be just as happy to be here.
Oh, I don't care if there's 12 people or 12,000. We're happy to do it, and we'll keep doing it.
We'll be here to the very end. I want to go straight to the Open. After being berated all last week, I'm now not calling it the British Open, even though John Daly won the British Open. He didn't win the Open. John Daly, Randall's fat hero. The last day of the Open, we had some dramatics coming home, Brendan. Let's start there, Shane. That Sunday, and Cam Smith kind of ran down the field. And, we said earlier that Roy has a habit of folding early, but he stayed till the very end, and it was a great finish.
It was. Just want to mention that was my Bet Your Nuts. Cam Smith went in the Open, so I hope you guys followed that. Yeah, this is what he does, man. When he gets hot and that putter gets going, I mean, he's one of the best ball strikers. Iron play is fantastic, but when he makes putts, I mean, look out, because just like you saw on the back nine, 5 birdies in a row. Shot a 30 on the back. I mean, even Rory said he was just trying to hang on. Typically when you have a lead, 3-stroke lead, I think he had over him, possibly 4. I think it was 3. Typically you get in kind of defense mode. You play conservative and, just take what the course gives you. You don't really attack too much. Rory had to attack on the back nine, and he knew that. And he tried. He just couldn't make the birdies happen. Although he played well. He didn't fold in, previous Rory fashion. He played solid. It was just, this guy, Cam, was just on fire. I mean, to come out and shoot a 64 to win it was just incredible. And I was rooting for him.
All right, Tom, I'm not a golf guy. I'm a casual fan of the sport.
Me too.
Shane very well summed it up, but even I, on Sunday, felt myself drawn into a little bit of what was happening. Did you find that did it ever hit your hey, this is a big deal, or were you just kind of?
I mean, anytime you have, especially what's going on with golf, you have players that are involved in both situations now coming together and playing in the Open, the 150th, the Open 150 or whatever they called it. It always makes it intriguing. And one of the quotes that I remember reading, Roy said, he goes, I didn't really do anything wrong, but I really didn't do anything right either. I think that was in relation just to the way Cam Smith played that back nine, and he was just hitting every shot. So definitely, anytime the British Open is on, or the Open as you call it, it's always intriguing because you never know what the weather is going to come into play. What's the playing surface going to be? So I think it kind of makes it to where it's almost like a level playing field. So as the avid golfer, I would consider myself that. It makes it interesting, but definitely, Cam Smith had an unbelievable final day in the tournament, and he earned it, and he deserved every bit he got. So it's exciting.
Is for both of you, we'll start with you, Tom. Is the British Open better when it's at a traditional course like this, where it's something that we're used to seeing? I don't know. I just get excited when I see the Hills and the Moguls. And I've always talked about I love the Masters. The British Open may be my second favorite tournament just because the courses don't look like every other course we see on TV.
Yeah, I think it you look at some of those hazards and how steep they are. And Dustin Johnson had a shot where it looked like there was no way in hell he was going to get it over the edge, and he was able to do that. But I just think it makes all the players, pretty much on a level playing field. You could have the greatest golfer in the world, come in, and the wind might take their ball and look like just the scratch golfer. So I think that's exciting to have those old traditional courses still in play, and it makes the tournament what it is. Just the challenges that it presents, both the course itself and then the weather.
Jane, what does it mean to win at the old course? I mean, Cam Smith wins at St. Andrews. To me, it's got to mean more when it's at St. Andrews. Look at that mad smiling face in the background. It's got to mean more when it's at St. Andrews.
I think it does. If that's your dream to go and play on the PGA Tour, that's definitely in one of the top things that you want to accomplish is, not only to win the British Open, but to win it at the old course. It is a pretty amazing notch in the belt you can say you accomplished. So I know Rory wanted it bad. Cam, I'm sure did as well. And, the better golfer won that day.
Well, what did you make of the fact that it took bunny ears over Tom's head to initiate into the club? What did you think of the statement, Tom, when they asked him how many beers will the claret jug hold? I thought that was a great answer and a great moment for golf.
Well, I think it made him look like just your regular guy. What did he say? He was going to have probably 20 drinks out of it, but then worried about the time zone being from Australia that it might throw him off. But I think that's what's good about golf. It's a great game and it has its traditions and history, but I think it needs players like that to lure in a different type of fan base. People tend to think that golf can be a boring game and it's an old man's game. But when you throw in, players like this that make comments that way and they wear their hair wild and they just look different, I think that drives a different type of fan. So I'm all for it. I think it's great. And you look to see more of that moving forward in the game of golf.
Yeah, I think in the day of social media and this kind of new generation coming up, you get to see the reality of people. I mean, these are just normal people that have an extraordinary talent.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even look at it that way. That's just what they go out and do. It's just they're just naturally good at this thing. So it's not hard work for them necessarily. And they like to cut loose just like the rest of us. So it's definitely good to see. But that whole kind of group there with Cam and Justin Thomas and Fowler and Spieth and all those guys, they cut up. I mean, there's a lot of reels or whatever on social media where they're out playing and drinking and playing in Hawaii with no shoes and just in swim trunk, just crazy clips, that stuff that just normal guys like us would do. So it is good to see, and that's a great point, Tom. It does kind of hone in on a different generation and a different side of golf,
especially now with Tiger kind of on the back end of his career. Maybe you never know what the situation is. Golf relied on him specifically to kind of carry the weight, and now these young guys are coming in and they may not be as talented as Tiger was and hit the ball as far as he could, but they're bringing a different type of element to the game, and I think they're more marketable. Whereas Tiger kind of, he was the leader of the pack, with Nike and EA Sports and all that. Now these different clothing lines, and like you said, the social media, the TikTok, these guys are getting, they're getting millions of followers that, and it's bringing attention to the game of golf that I don't think I don't recall seeing in my lifetime, which, only improves the sport.
Well, it got the attention of the Live Golf Tour, I can tell you that.
Oh yeah.
Before we go to
Live, segue.
Robbie Davis joining us from the internet. Tiger's emotion on the last hole shows how important St. Andrews is to golf.
Yeah.
Last question, then we'll move on to Live Golf. Is that Tiger's last round at St. Andrews in a competitive form?
Probably. They're I think 6 or 7 years before the Open will be back at St. Andrews. I just don't see him holding up that long. I don't think he sees it happening that long either. I mean, this guy's in pain out there. Like it's amazing that he's even out there right now. And I think he'll continue to play until he feels like he's not competitive, which who knows when that would be. It could be another year. It could be five more years, but 6 to 7 could be a little bit of a stretch.
All right, let's move on a little bit. Great Open. I did enjoy Sunday. I just opened this segment by saying I'm not the biggest golf guy in the world, but I am concerned for the PGA Tour. Live Golf continues to raid the PGA Tour today with the announcement that Henrik Stenson would not be the captain of the European team in 2013 or 2023 because he was joining Live Golf. I understand a little bit about what's going on, but what's really going on that the layman doesn't understand? Shane, and then I'll come to you, Tom. What is happening?
I think this is a lot of starting with Greg Norman. He's kind of the driving head of this, and then there's a lot of pinned up aggression and anger at the PGA from some of the older players, just how some of the contracts were done back in the day with the media rights and such. I know Phil has made a lot of comments about that as well. So that kind of fueled the fire a little bit. And now you bring in, endless checkbook pretty much. And these guys, they're just going after it. So now you're dividing the PGA into two groups. You're dividing into the people that are there that can be bought, that are wanting to make money, and they don't care if they play for 5 years and then retire. They don't care about winning, multiple trophies or whatever. And then you've got the true bloods that love the game and the tradition of it, and those are the ones that are kind of on the other side. So you're drawing a line in the sand at this point, and you're starting to see kind of the real character, especially the older guys on the back end of their careers. Those do not surprise me at all. Now, some of the younger guys that are crossing over, that's a little bit more surprising because they've got a lot left in the tank as far as endorsement deals, being with the PGA, tournament wins, and what have you there. But yeah, it's a mess, and the PGA's got to do something monetarily a little better. I don't think they could compete with oil money, but I mean, they could make it a little bit more enticing for these guys to stay. This is one of the biggest majors of the year. The guy won $2.5 million. Now, that's a ton of money, but these guys are getting offered guaranteed contracts for 90 to 150, $200 million. I mean, how about $10 million to win one of the 4 majors of the year? So I don't know. They've got to figure out something, because as each day, each week goes on, another headliner gets plucked out of the PGA and goes to the Live Tour.
Tom, you want to?
Yeah. It's interesting because you're fighting an entity that has bottomless pocketbooks. There's no amount that they won't really spend, and they've shown it. A lot of these golfers are getting, like B said, guaranteed contracts, and I think Stetson, I saw something about he was getting like $9 million guaranteed or something to that effect to come over. That's tough to compete with, and I think also when you look at the amount of tournaments, so they're not competing in as many tournaments as the PGA Tour. So I think for a lot of these players, they're looking at the possibility of, there's no cuts. They're going to make every tournament and not playing as many, but then the money. So it's tough. It's really tough, and I think the PGA needs more players like Tiger, like Rory, to come out and kind of speak out against it, because they're going to need an ally. And right now they're kind of playing second fiddle to the Live, and I see David Faraday, the voice of PGA for the most part of NBC, is switching sides. So it's not only players, it's media guys, and Charles Barkley's got some kind of a deal coming up. So I mean, when you're talking about that much money and players and media personalities really willing to leave, it really makes it tough for the PGA to do anything. But yet, I mean, they're going to have to pony up somehow and make it to where they're more equitable than the Live. And right now, that's going to be tough.
Do they need, and welcome aboard, Raj Mehta, coming in from work a little late. I do love the Big Ten football rules. That goes along with the narrative I said earlier. Love it. to finish up with you two guys on Live, do they not have to have a spectacle? Do they not have to have some big events that's going to draw eyes to the TV? What's going to bring eyes to the product right now? They're paying all this money, got good golfers, but don't they have to have a major, or don't they have to have something that gets our attention? We'll go with you, Shane.
You would think so. I mean, this is still in its infant form of their structure right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, what they've played 3 tournaments, I think now, 2 or 3. And, you know, it's not publicized well. It's on like YouTube or something. Like you got to kind of look to find it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting more attention in the media about the headlines of people actually coming than they are viewers on the actual tournament. But yeah, that's got to change. I think their wow factor right now is, you know, the middle finger to the PGA plucking all these big names at this point. And I don't know if they're going to restructure somehow, but you know, just doing the same weekend tournament where it doesn't really mean squat, and you can go win 20 million, or, you know, last place is 130,000. You know, that's not very entertaining. Golf's already boring to watch if you don't really like golf. You've got to have some kind of like you said, risk or some skin in the game or something. So they're going to figure something out there to get viewership, because they can only sustain this wow factor for so long until no one else is going to come over there. And then it's going to be like, okay, what's Live Golf, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, to me, it's like, it almost has an XFL feel or a USFL feel to it. As much money as is being, you know, handed out to these players, it still feels cheap to me. As kind of the not so, you know, heavy watching golf fan, knowing that I can't turn the TV on CBS or NBC or Golf Channel and watch one of these tournaments, that's going to present a challenge to them. So what you're saying, I agree. People don't want to have to look too far to watch their favorite golfers. And if it gets too far along and fans are going to start saying, this is a little cheap, I don't really seem to be interested in this, they're going to start to have some backlash. And then on top of that, some of the golf courses that they're holding these tournaments at is causing some dissension within the golf community. So it's going to be interesting. There's going to have to be a TV deal for it to survive.
Yeah.
I just don't see, and for a lot of these athletes, they want to be seen. You know, a lot of their image, like we talked earlier, you know, they're on TikTok, they're on Facebook or whatnot, and they have a following in that regard. And when their fans can't really watch them perform live, that might change a lot of things. So there has to be a TV deal done, and that's where maybe the PGA has the upper advantage.
Excellent point. Let's move on. Raj, how's your feed? Is it better now, or you still?
It is a little bit. It was just Shane and Tom where it was going like Charlie Brown's teacher on me. But it's better right now.
All right. So do you have anything to add to Live Golf before we move on to baseball?
Absolutely not.
That's why you're the best baseball in the game of sports. All right, let's move on to the All-Star game, and we'll get to why Raj his pitcher cost an NL another All-Star game, but we'll wait for that till later. We'll start with the Home Run Derby. Guys, I love the Home Run Derby. The only thing I don't like about the Home Run Derby, it's too fast. I want to see where the ball lands. I want to see some 500-foot bombs. They need to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I thought, all in all, again, for an all-star game, it is absolutely about the best event on the all-star games that I've seen. And also coming in live won't flourish unless it gets TV coverage. Derek Jasper, you are exactly right, my friend, with your comment. I 100% agree. But I was frustrated a little bit with the home run derby with how fast we got through it. Again, you've got great home run hitters. Let's slow them down a little bit. Raj, we'll start with you. What was your impression of the home run derby? And did you enjoy it? Tom, I'll come to you, and then I got a follow-up for you out too. Go ahead, Raj.
I do enjoy it, but I always think there should be weighted towards total home runs. You know, the Rodriguez kid, it's his first time there. He's just going to keep swinging and swinging and swinging.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first round, he hit like 32. That wears you out. And personally, I think he deserved to win. But, you know, Soto is Soto, and he hit one 500 plus feet last year, and he hit another few bombs this year, and he beat the kid by one. But I just wish there was a way for it to be weighted. I know, like in later rounds, you can kind of see where the other person's at and then stop. But I guess he went first against Seager, and yeah, I mean, the kid was done. And multiple guys mentioned how tiring it is, and they're sore, not the day after, but going into the next week. Even, you know, I've seen guys slump for 2 weeks, and some blame it on the home run derby. So personally, I don't like it when any Dodgers are in the derby, but Seager was close and he got a nice ovation. But yeah, it's you know, I don't remember how many more. I was trying to find out that total, because I believe the kid hit more total home runs. Yeah, he had 81 total, which only Vlad Guerrero Jr. beat in 91 total in 2019. I mean, that should count for something. He got $500,000, and that's good because he's on like a $700,000 rookie contract. But yeah, Soto's about to be a billionaire, and he got another $1 million. Ain't right.
Do you enjoy? I'm going to ask you a first off, just give us an impression of your enjoyment of the home run derby.
It's, you know, I liken it to the slam dunk competition. You know, it's gimmicky. You know, it gets the fans involved. You know, it's probably the most exciting aspect of, you know, All-Star Weekend. I agree with Raj. I mean, there has to be something said about, you know, overall amounts. That's got to mean something. But with the way tournaments are and this and that, so I guess I see why the home run derby is you know, slated the way it is. I have to admit, I did not watch. I watched some highlights. I was down at Comerica Park watching Elton John that night, and so I was unable to watch it live. But the what I took out of it was, you know, Albert Pujols. You know, he's 375 years old, and he's still, you know, competed and swung the bat with the best of them. Which to me, that was the shocking aspect. But back to Raj's point, you know, I look back in 2005 when Brandon Inge, who was a third baseman for my lowly Detroit Tigers, decided he was going to throw his hat in the ring, the home run derby, which was a huge mistake. He embarrassed himself out there. I think he hit one home run. But after that home run derby, I think he only hit 2 or 3 more in the rest of the season. So, yeah, I mean, when you're swinging the bat, you know those pitches are coming fast and furious at you. It can change just the way you look at everyday pitching. But I mean, everything's about fans, and it packs the house. So I guess it's good for baseball, and it you know, makes mention to, you know, the not so typical fan that didn't know who Julio Fernandez was. This kid's amazing, and what he did accomplish in that first round was, I mean, you might not see that again, and everyone knows his name now. So I mean, it took off. So in that aspect, it makes some of these lesser players more notable.
And the follow-up.
Randall, 2 quick things. Real quick, Julio Rodriguez hit 81 total home runs to Soto's 53. Another thing, Tom mentioned Pujols. Julio Rodriguez was 98 days old when Pujols hit his first home run.
Yeah, that's amazing. I said his name wrong, Rodriguez. I apologize.
Where's the hat and your bow tie? That was the follow-up.
That was in relation to his brother Rich Jasper. He posted something on Facebook. So we had here in the Speakeasy, we had a big party for the Kentucky Derby. So we were all dressed up. We had bow ties and hats on. So he posted his profile picture as that. So he said he wanted to see that as one of the in the podcast.
That may be
Mr. Peanut.
That may be your
Peanut.
Shane, before we move into the All-Star game, not being as big a baseball guy as some of us, I had a friend over here who's not a baseball fan that was completely enthralled by the home run derby. Is there something about that just, even if you're not a fan of baseball, the Kentucky?
Yeah, I mean, there's the wow factor of just watching guys hit bombs. I mean, that's, what – I know your friend's not a kid, but as a kid, I remember watching, and that is kind of one of the things that would excite you during the All-Star break. I mean, you get to go watch that. Same thing as Tom mentioned, the dunk contest or anything like that. We all remember trying to be Jordan in the driveway after a dunk contest with your buddies and trying to go create these dunks. And I think the same thing for kids watching them hit bombs. It's exciting. It's fun. It's more active than a normal baseball game. So, it kind of draws you in. But to both of their points, it's got to wear on you, and swinging that hard and trying to win something like that. It's got to be tough on the body, especially for some of these older guys.
Well, as a Braves fan, I'd like for them to stop shooting fireworks in the pregame because it freaked Acuna out evidently, and he jumped off the stands. My guy is from Latin America. He probably ain't seen stuff like that. Let's cut it down a little bit. But I do want to move on to the All-Star game because I was rooting for a tie. I would like both of your opinions of how we were going to break a tie in the All-Star game. Raj, you explained it to me. Are you being able to hear me right now? All right.
That's the first thing I heard. Otherwise, I just heard like wah, wah, wah. But I was going to reboot, but go ahead while I got you.
Explain the All-Star. Explain the All-Star tiebreaker, and then reboot, please.
I didn't get into too much in-depth stuff, but basically, it wasn't as stupid as when that moron C-League had the winner of the All-Star game determine who hosts the World Series. That was the dumbest you-know-what of all time. This basically came down to you pick your three dudes, kind of like penalty kicks. And I can't remember, 9 total pitches or something like that. And whoever got the most home runs won. So it would have been cool to see. I mean, even they put a mic on, who was it? Julio Rodriguez, in fact. And he's like, Julio, do you kind of hope this game ends in a tie? And he's like, don't tell anybody. But yeah, that would have been awesome to see. I'm going to reboot real quick, but question for you guys, and I'm going to listen on my phone while I reboot. I'm obviously biased, but what did you think about LA as hosting that game, about, the stands, about seeing, the sky? I'm obviously very biased, but was that cool to you guys? And I'm going to reboot real quick and I'll be right back.
All right, Tom, were you rooting for a tie? I don't know if I hated it or I wanted to see it. I was torn.
I think anytime there's something new added to the mix, it always makes it a little bit intriguing. As a American League guy, obviously I'm always going to push for the American League to win. And but I mean, it adds a different element. It's almost like the shootout in hockey. It's like you go into that and one, lucky bounce or whatever, and it can go the other way. Throwing a little home run derby feel to the tiebreaker, I think that adds, if anything, more excitement to the All-Star game, because you look at, it starts at 8 o'clock plus. By the time it's done, it's after 11 o'clock. So you gotta keep fans intrigued or input into the game. So I think for that aspect, it would have been kind of cool to see, what could have come out of it. Do I think that'll happen, in years to come? I mean, if they would have put Juan Soto or Soto from Detroit in the ninth, there definitely would have been a tie, because he would have blown that save. But yeah, it's cool. I think for the game of baseball, specifically the All-Star game, I think that's cool. I think it would have been cool to see.
Brendan, what if you'd have flipped on in the ninth inning and seen a home run derby sell in the All-Star game?
That would have been cool. It's the whole thing about the All-Stars is for the fans, pretty much. I mean, the players are, I don't necessarily think they're that into it. They're kind of focused a little bit more on what's to come in the season. Now, it's a little fun for the players. Some of them get into it, but it's for the fans, and that's a cool way to end a tie, like unconventionally in baseball, and to keep people intrigued. Like, if it does come down to that tie, we get to see a mini home run derby at the end here. It's a really cool aspect. Again, I think it's just kind of gimmicky for the fans, but it is what it is, and that's what keeps people intrigued with the All-Star break.
I have to admit, this is a pretty good idea. Make them leave the same pitcher in, or make someone who's not batted in the whole game bat. Just throw them in cold. You got to keep. It would add some strategy to it, to me, to have to do that. Now, I had wrote in my notes. To me, it's surreal, as Rod reboots. Of course, last year the All-Star game was taken out of Atlanta. And I lived on the West Coast for a while, and one of the strangest things to me was waking up Sunday NFL that started at 10 a.m. just completely bothered me. I never did get used to that. The All-Star game's going off, and it's still sunny in California. It's still beautiful, and it looks great, but I'm not sure that if my time clock's not going, All-Star game's supposed to be at night. We're there's our baseball game. What's up there? Hey, Philip Chaplin, welcome aboard, buddy. If you got anything to add to the All-Star game, please feel free. It's nice to see all the celebrities in the stands. It's nice that the All-Star game feels big, but I swear it bothers me it being during the daytime. Tom, are you that East Coast guy like I am, that you want it to be night or not?
I see where you're coming from. Because obviously everything's catered to the East Coast. So to see the first pitch when it's, the sun's going down here, but it's rush hour in LA there. It adds a different feel. It doesn't feel like a normal All-Star game would. But then again, it's LA. You go to LA for a reason. Like you said, that the celebrities are there. The skyline of Dodger Stadium is probably second to none in baseball. And I think for that aspect, people can kind of overlook the fact that there's a 3-hour time difference, and because it's more of a spectacle. I feel like when you bring it into a city like LA, let's face it, LA fans, outside of Dodger fans and Laker fans, are they really fans? That's a tough pill to swallow out there. So of course you got to add the Hollywood element. You got to bring in different celebrities, which is cool because they're coming from all over the country. So you know, they have their, you know, their favorite team hat on or whatever. But I think for that aspect, it's a spectacle, and it makes the All-Star game a little bit more fun to watch. And I agree with you. I was in Hawaii in 2019, and, you know, first kickoff was like 7 a.m. in the morning, and then, you know, bar specials, 7 o'clock, you know, drink specials, happy hour. It's like, oh, wow, this is a little weird. But, you know, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there's no more games on for the rest of the day. So for an East Coast person going out there, that would be a tough transition. But I think it being in LA, the All-Star game worked, because I don't think there's a better classic feel stadium out there right now other than Wrigley or Fenway.
It's hilarious. That's the next question I was going to ask Jane. I had wrote down before the podcast, I can name 3 baseball stadiums other than Truist, which I've been to 1,000 times at a glance. And there is some prestige to me. When I look at Dodger Stadium, I know it. And I wrote down Fenway, Wrigley, Dodger Stadium. For you, Brendan, as a fan, not as livid as some of us, it is nice to see those places that you don't see every day.
Absolutely. Like Tom's point, it's a cool aspect. Being during the day doesn't bother me at all. Again, I'm not as avid of a fan as you, but didn't bother me one bit, you know, seeing the sunshine. I thought it was well done, and, you know, it's a good spectacle, like Tom said.
Couple comments, Derek. Derek says, if you want it on the week in the evenings, have it on the weekend. That's a good point. And then our boy Chappie, who has been around a little more, been doing a lot of work. Love Kershaw shorting for the Dodgers, and Alek Manoah speaking while pitching was awesome.
Yeah, that was
Chappie,
funny.
That guy's awesome.
I did a show with Chappie for a year, and I miss you, big boy. You're welcome here anytime. How was it to that point, Raj? How did it sound?
I thought that was awesome. And I don't know if you guys saw the bit, it wasn't a bit, with Kershaw pregame, where there was a young man who said his grandfather recently died of cancer. This was in the pregame press conference. And he said his dream, his bucket list, was to meet Clayton Kershaw. So he went up in the press conference. He was the last speaker. Just Kershaw's at the table. Told him this. And Kershaw's raw, natural reaction was to give him a hug. It was a very touching moment. And my wife says, I don't have a heart or feelings. And I felt something in there. I'm not sure what it was. I was in the car all day. What was the question again?
How nice it was to hear the pitchers like Manoah.
Oh, that was awesome.
You know,
totally badass.
When they had the Yankees pitcher on and he was talking through the hitters, Rodriguez in the outfield. Now, I did love that aspect of it.
That was really cool. And I was thinking, you know, if the Houston Astros were all there in Altuve, man, they'd be listening to that crap, stealing signals, and no pun intended, and letting people know what pitch is coming. I've never seen that, and that was awesome. And, you know, it just reaffirms my suspicion that catchers are the most personable people on the baseball field. Every one of them, you know, they talk to everyone. They have to be nice to the ump. Trevino was awesome, and Manoah was just next level. I don't know if you guys saw, but as soon as he went in the dugout, he had like a double plastic or paper cup, and he was sipping on something, and I sure as hell wasn't water. So I was just thinking, like Bill Murray from Stripes, I want to party with that guy. Actually, I want to party with you, cowboy. But
he is a West Virginia graduate, so that should tell you what he was sipping on.
Buck Wild, baby, woo!
Our boy Robbie Davis. It does kill you to listen to this show. You're ill and can't jump in. Brandon, that's how Brandon got on the show. He just got so frustrated with he would be commenting, and we finally, we said, sat Brandon to the show. Last question, then we'll go on to Juan Soto. For you, Raj, we talked about 3 baseball cathedrals in the All-Star game being there or Wrigley Field or Fenway Park. Is that the cathedrals that's left in baseball, those 3 parts that you know by a look? Yes, Philip Chapman. We know he's a Mountaineer. He was drinking something, probably having some beers in the dugout.
I got family from Huntington, man. Those people party hard. The entire state. I'm not being like racist by saying those people, but it kind of is a different race in West Virginia. Yeah, I mean, those, the 3 oldest stadiums. Dodger Stadium, I think, was built in 1965. It's got a bit of an interesting history, which isn't the most positive reflection of the team, but we won't go there. Yeah, I mean, when it was at the Nationals ballpark, I was just looking around like, like it looked like any day stadium. I do prefer some character, something unique. For example, the Angels turned Anaheim Stadium when Disney bought them and just put like a lame rock fountain. It's not even real in center field. I'm just like, that's stupid. I think the Marlins got rid of their fish thing that was rotating. That was pretty sweet, especially if you were smoking weed or something, from what I hear. But no, I'm biased. I'm traditionalist, so I would say yes, but it also, it's so huge for local economies and the fans, and it generates a huge interest in baseball in towns like, that can be up and down, like the Rockies. They're good fans there, but they get mad and they have high standards, and, that team's not always good. So I understand that side of it, but yeah, would I think that would be the coolest? Absolutely.
I think to jump in really quick, the other cathedral, maybe outside of the 3, in my opinion, although I haven't been there and it's on my bucket list, Camden Yards. I think it has like an old school type of feel. It's a classic style baseball park, but it's fairly new. I mean, it's been around for plus 20 years. But I think when you look at the cathedrals nowadays, that probably falls into the conversation at least.
It's a great baseball park. I went there, I think, 97 when I was in DC and got to go there. Cal Ripken was playing. It was awesome. I can't remember if that was a street countdown or what. I was pretty loaded. But yeah, that's a phenomenal baseball park. Ford Field, is it? Or PNC, whatever the one is in Pittsburgh.
PNC, yeah.
PNC Park. Just a beautiful, well-done baseball park. Bridge in the background. Very cool. But yeah, I agree. Just not the standard multi-purpose, nonsensical stadium. Get some character up there.
Our Pirates fan, our West Virginia boy, says Camden Yards pales in comparison to PNC. I haven't been to PNC, but everything I've heard is it's one. All right, guys, want to move along. One last we have done more baseball this show than we've done maybe in history. We can tell that by looking at Jane's face going, baseball.
It's like Raj and golf, we're just
baseball and golf so far, but we're going to talk a little general sports now. But first, River City shirts are available. $25 for the shirt, $15 for the hat, combo for $35. We just don't advertise them for some reason. Tom had to join the show and suggest we get merch for me to remember to advertise it. Also, smash and like RiverCity-Media here on YouTube. We've had a great month. Let's not forget smashes and likes. Moving on to, and I guess this is not even I did want to bring this up. I'd like your take on the Nationals making their star player fly coach and not charter, especially after he turned down the monster contract. But the next subject we're going to talk about is that monster contract. And you can address that one, Tom, off the bat. But Juan Soto turned down a $500 million basically, but it was a 15-year contract. And it got me to thinking, if LeBron James was 27 years old, and someone come to him, would he, with a 12-year contract, would that be the first $1 billion player? Because it's going to happen. What did you think about Soto turning down $500 million? What would it take for a player to break $1 billion?
Me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Not surprised that he turned it down. It just told me that he doesn't really think that the future in Washington is where he wants to be. They've kind of mortgaged a lot of the players that they won a World Series with, so they're not there. And then also you got to look at Ohtani is getting ready to hit the market, and I don't see anyone really wanting to go after a long-term deal like that until they see what the value of Ohtani is. So I think that might have came into play. The length of it, I don't think there's any player that wants to stay with one city, without, different things on their contract for that period of time. So that's a challenge. So it doesn't surprise me. But I think if you're the Nationals, you kind of look at that as a play in your favor, because, he still has 2 years of control, club control. So for a player out there that obviously is going to, have to break the bank to get him, you're not selling your farm system for, a half a season or for 1 year. You get him for 2 years. So in that 2 year period, you might be able to work out a deal. You're dealing with Boris, so that's always a crapshoot. But for the sake of Ohtani and what he's going to demand, maybe as early as next year, I've heard grumblings that the Angels might kind of dangle him here at trade deadline, which that would be very interesting. But I mean, Soto, I don't think it's any secret he doesn't want to be in Washington. He's 23 years old. He's marketable. He wants to go somewhere where he can be the face of the franchise and win on a regular basis. So, and the Nationals basically saying, "Hey, hit the bricks for the charter flight," tells me that they've kind of made their peace with the situation, and they're probably going to move on with them here within the next couple of weeks.
Hey, on that LeBron subject real quick, LeBron started out AAU. He was the golden child. He knew that he was basically going to be an enterprise on his own. He is a brand himself, and it's global. So it's a bit different than, and he jumps around from different markets for whatever reason. But, Juan Soto, born and raised in the Dominican, I believe, less marketable, obviously. So if, they were even slate or whatnot, I don't see LeBron doing that. But with Soto, it's obvious he wants out. Randall, you were probably going to ask this, but it's a lot for a team to commit that much money to one dude. Was that your next question?
Yeah, well,
Sorry.
I wanted to ask you, and Shane, I have a different question for you. But first, let me go to Raj. And it's back to Tom's point. It's if you commit $500 million to a player and you're not LA, New York, Boston, you're basically your future of your franchise is wrapped up in one player. Mm-hmm. Even Atlanta, to hold Acuna for 10 years, got a very early deal for about $170. I fully expect if the Braves hadn't done that, Acuna would be walking at some point. Who sets the market? Is Ohtani or is it Soto? And how big is the market and who can afford them? Because I only think there's 4 teams that can afford them.
It's probably Soto. Well, I don't know what's going to happen with Ohtani. Yeah, he's highly marketable and obviously global. I would say him, but we discussed this off air earlier that the Angels committed $400 million plus to Mike Trout in 2019. They are not any closer to getting to the World Series. In fact, they're probably like 50, 60 games under overall. Ohtani's going to be due, and how can they afford to pay him they obviously can't afford to develop pitching and pay pitchers. They try Noah Syndergaard and dudes like that, but it's got to come from within to some extent. So when you're committing, like the Dodgers being interested in Soto, it's going to take 7 or 8 prospects, probably 6 to 10 of their top 50, plus Gavin Lux. They're pretty set at catcher. They gave up Keibert Ruiz last year in the deal for Scherzer and Trey Turner. But the Dodgers also have to pay Trey Turner. We're hoping he stays. They have another catcher, Diego Cartaya, but because Will Smith is there, they've got dudes, but I don't want to see that. I know he's a generational guy, but baseball is a team sport, and the Braves, and it's who's hot when they're hot, and the Braves proved it last year. I mean, their superstar went down, and Anthopoulos got a bunch of cast-offs, and Rosario, the best thing he did was for the bullpen. And Soler and those guys got super hot, and they were unbeatable. There's kind of a magic there. So look at Soto now. He's pretty much the only player on that team. And what happens, like Mike Trout was in Anaheim, or wherever they call it now, for so long, there's only so much you can do. You need some kind of protection, some team around him. And, you got to really sacrifice the future to get the dude. I know people think he's a Hall of Fame talent, but I don't see it.
You're unloading your franchise. Brendan, last year Mahomes set the mark, I guess, in the NFL. Who are the players that can move that button? We talked if LeBron was young. Mahomes obviously is a superstar very early in his career. Josh Allen still needs to re-up at some point. Is there any? Is Ohtani going to set, or Soto going to set the market, and that's where it's going to set, or is there somebody else out there we're not thinking of in another sport?
Well, if you're not thinking of it, I'm damn sure not thinking of it, because I don't watch as much baseball as you. So I would have to say it's going to go between those two guys from what I've seen, and I do read a little bit about it. But I think the generation is kind of changing. I don't think you have those Chipper Jones, Freddie Freeman guys that are just long lifers with one team. I think between the front office moving pieces around, what have you done for me lately, trying to win now, versus the players getting the back end of the stick, they don't want to commit to a team. Sometimes it may not even be about the money. That's a big number, but
you want to live.
Do you want to go win a World Series somewhere? Do you want to sit here for 15 years and, be middle of the pack? So I think that plays a lot into it as well. Money is a big deal, but again, trying to compare it to the NBA with their short-term max deals, that they can jump around. They own the league. The league doesn't own them, and it's vice versa in the MLB. So when you commit to one of those contracts, it's a big deal. So you got to make sure you're doing the right thing. And I just think they've got to find the right fit. Obviously, it's not going to be in Washington for Soto.
Will Josh Allen's contract be bigger than Mahomes?
Good question. Potentially. I think it will, just because it seems to be a ladder effect here, and each new contract that comes out with the big new name that's up for a deal sets the new bar, and then the field rests. So, and I think you see that everywhere in any sport. As soon as the new bar is set, then everyone goes back, and that's what's expected. Only if I could keep up with inflation as well as these markets do, I'd be in good shape.
Yeah, I do agree with this statement. If Tiger Woods was 27 years old, Live Golf would make him the first billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Tom, well, you're a Tigers fan. You're sitting in, you just spent a little money in the offseason, new shortstop, but you're got a ton of talent in the minor leagues.
Mm-hmm.
You want to clear out your minor league system for an Ohtani or a Soto?
Well, if you're talking
Maybe
about Torkelson, boy, what a bust that's been. He's been sent down to Toledo, which was about a month and a half too late. But you look at their talent is up with them. Riley Green, they got Cody Clemens, who was just sent down recently, but he showed promise. As a Tiger fan who's still living the nightmare of a long-term contract, Miguel Cabrera, who they mortgaged their future on 2012 and 2013, and it got them to the World Series in 2012, but they didn't win ultimately. So now you're paying a guy 39 years old who's 5 years removed from his better days, and you're paying him $35 million. So I mean, as a fan who looks down the road, who has there's a lot of pitching talent on this team. No, I don't think I would go that route, and I think that is one of the big reasons why they didn't go after Carrera. They throw an offer at him, but I think they threw an offer at him that they knew that he would turn down, and that's how they ended up with Javi Baez, who I'm not a fan of. I think he takes too many plays off, and I think it's going to be another Miggy situation where they overspent for a guy that's going to underperform. But the amount of talent that Detroit has potentially in their farm system, no, I couldn't foresee it, because they would probably set them back 10 years.
The one good news is Chappie, who's the baseball man, all baseball man, he just said Torque on, and you know what?
I agree with that. He needed to go down, and his problem is he gets a hit, and then he goes 2 or 3 games, strikes out 8 times, 9 times. So I think mentally he's getting ahead of himself. So now he's going to go down to Toledo. He's going to dominate AAA pitching, get his mind right, and before the end of the season, I see it maybe within the next 2 to 3 weeks. He'll be back up. He'll be all right.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on that kid. He was told to be like he could never fail. They were counting on him. This is the year. It's all confidence. You look at a guy like Gavin Lux for LA, who's hitting 280 right now. When he first came, he still can't field for stuff, but he was horrible, and he was supposed to be a can't-miss player. He went down, and he actually brought in his college coach as basically to just kind of get back to basics. And when he came up this year, he said it's all confidence, familiarity, more study, and he's a different player. So Torkelson will be fine. But, yeah, I was surprised he tanked that much. Yeah. It just kept getting worse.
Yep. I don't think he ever got above 200. And early in the season, his defense was suspect. But then he figured that out. He played pretty well offensively, which is probably the only reason why he stuck on as long as he did. But I think he's got too much talent, and he proved it in each level. He dominated in single A, double A, triple A, and that's why he started in opening day. So a little refresher will be good for him.
All right, guys, I got an official announcement to make. I've talked for an hour and haven't brought up football, so that's ending now. So I'm going to football because I can't take no more. I love baseball. The only sport I can talk about an hour straight with it not being football is college basketball in March. So great discussion of baseball. And Raj, I do last question, yes or no, is Soto a Dodger?
No.
I think you're right. I think there's a scenario he ends up back in Washington. I really do. I still think that's a possibility.
The big boys, a lot of people are saying like San Diego, Tampa. I mean, they can put together this package full of kids. The Braves are smart. They just say, I'm out. But then, the Yankees, the White Sox have money. The Giants are desperate. So just based on, one of 30 teams, I'm going to say no, but you never know with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
It's hard buying all these great players. It's very difficult. Actually, most of them came up through the system and were cast-offs, but yeah, except for Mookie and Freddie.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We'll see.
We'll move on the Freddie comment. Shane, how are you doing?
We love him.
I'm good. Good baseball talk, boys.
Hey, good. Moving on. We do have a football subject we're going to save till Robbie, our resident attorneys, are back about salary cap, and we'll address that next week, along with Major League umpiring and also college football. As we said here, University of Tennessee, which I most closely follow, is 2 weeks from reporting to football. 2 weeks. Spring SEC Media Days undergoing right now. Pac-12 reports, I think, at the same time. We're right at the doorstep, and we're going to talk about each conference real fast. Not tonight, but we're going to break them down each week going through. We're going to start on the West Coast with a conference that I think is going to be really strange. I think it's going to be hard for USC to go to Utah or go to Arizona State. I think they're going to be the ultimate villain. But the Pac-12, one more year of UCLA, USC in the Pac-12. Shane, we've talked about it many times here. We all try to follow the Pac-12, but really it's hard to do. But you've got to think the Pac-12 really comes down to the elite at the top. Utah, USC, Oregon. All those teams, pretty good football teams.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. It seems that we're at stalemate right now with these super conferences. I think a lot has to do with the ACC TV deal through 2036, I believe, or 38, something like that. So I think that's kind of what halted to 16 is the kind of the number right now until I think they get that worked out. But yeah, what's going to happen with everyone else, like Oregon, Utah? They've got to fit in somewhere. I mean, you can't just make these programs obsolete in football. And the thing that I'm struggling with is if you're not in one of these super conferences, how do you ever make it to the playoffs? You know, strength of schedule, like that. I just don't see how these guys are going to make it in, and it's unfortunate for some of these big name programs. So, but yeah, it's definitely going to be villainesque, I guess, with USC and UCLA, their last year there. So I might stay up for some of those games, actually.
Is it pro wrestling level villains? You know, if you're Arizona and you have USC coming in, I mean, I'm a Tennessee fan. I know I can send them some mustard and golf balls. We know how to throw.
I was going to say, we're about to see some of that getting thrown out. Shrapnel everywhere.
Balls on the West Coast as be changed.
I think obviously they've kind of controlled the narrative in this offseason with Lincoln Riley coming in and you know, Caleb Williams coming over and a lot of the other transfers coming to USC. And I think a lot of these schools have probably thought that, well, they've crowned themselves a champion. So the spotlight's on them, and it being their last year in the Pac-12, I think it's going to make, you know, some of these teams like, you know, Oregon and Utah want to say, hey, you know what, we want to send these guys off on a low note, you know, let them know that, you know what, maybe you shouldn't have left the Pac-12. But obviously they've been the team to talk about, and then really when on the flip side, you haven't really heard anybody talk about Utah overly as much, you know, and they've got their quarterback Cameron Rising coming back, who, you know, he had a hell of a season last year, and you know, if not for, I hate to say it, maybe some of the best receivers we will ever see or have seen the last 20 years at Ohio State. If not for them making some ridiculous catches, you know what? They could have been the Rose Bowl champion. But I think for some of the schools like that, they feel a little bit slighted. So yeah, they're going to be going after them with the best they got every week they play.
Rod, you're our Pac-12 representative for one more year. Who is the pretender and who is the contenders?
Ooh, that's a good question. Vegas said the hottest bet lately has been USC, which my response on the text thread was there's going to be a lot of new I don't think I can say that in Vegas next year because the house always wins and USC is a sexy pick. It's the betting population is a bunch of dumbasses pick. Will USC win a championship in the next 5 years? Yeah, I believe so. Will it happen this year? No. Even though there are stars all over the place, and the offense is going to be amazing with Jordan Addison, the Blitnikoff winner, Mario Williams. What's Travis Dye from Oregon? The guy scored 27, 28 touchdowns at Oregon and transferred to USC. There's just a ton of names on defense. Got a Bama guy, Shane Lee, Mello Height from Auburn, Texas guy, Xavier Alford. So there's a lot of talent. Corey Foreman, the former #1 pick, but they don't have the depth. And that's always been an issue. You know, last year they had one All-American DT. He got hurt, and that was it. And that's the Pac-10 in general. I think really only Utah is a legitimate contender. Not only is Cameron Rising just the best quarterback you've never heard of, he's ridiculously elusive. He doesn't throw picks. And their running back, Tavion Thomas, that dude is afraid. He's literally like 240, like 6'2", 240. He just mows dudes over. He came out of nowhere. They had the young man who passed away that was the offensive rookie of the year. I don't want to Ty Jordan. I can't remember his name, but rest in peace. Just an awful story. And then Tavion Thomas comes on board, and Whittingham always has good lines. Offensive line, defensive line. I babble about this all the time. Pete Carroll, that was the first thing he did. OL, DL. And that's what Ohio State does. And that's what Alabama does. And Georgia. And USC doesn't have that. But Utah is solid. And even though I loathe Oregon with former Georgia defensive coordinator, right? Dan Lanning, they return, I think, all 5 offensive linemen. So, but Bo Nix is their starting quarterback. And I don't have to bring that up to you guys. That guy's like clownster.
That's 2 losses right there.
Exactly. So that's what makes me think, even though, USC last year was awful and 30% of all the viewing population was watching USC. They are the marquee name, whether it, historically 50, 80, 100, 20 year, whatever. So if they are good, then this is going to be great. But I think it's some time away. But yeah, that's another thing too, is Larry Scott was the previous Pac-12 commissioner, just a total moron. The Pac-12 after dark, because what kind of anybody who'd stay up, they'd start games at 10:30. Even I would be like up to 1:32. Sometimes on Fox, sometimes on ESPN. They got a new commissioner, George Kliavkoff or something along those lines. He's very intelligent, very experienced. But the SEC and the Big Ten, they're proactive. They're not waiting around to see what happens. They're getting after things. They're creating their own paths. And the Pac-12 didn't do that. And it's a joke. Their network, I had to buy Sling TV to get the Pac-12, like an extra $50 a month to watch one channel, literally. And before that, it was me stealing feeds from, Great Britain on Sky Sports. It was just pathetic, whereas I can fall asleep and every channel will be either Friends or SEC football out here. So hopefully, this is a great thing for us. I was surprised the Big 12, Pac-12 negotiations fell through. I'm sure Oregon and Phil Knight had something to do with it. But yeah, overall, to answer your question, if I could be more succinct, I would. Utah, to me, is the only legit contender in the Pac-12. And, we talked about this earlier real quick. They play at Florida. Oregon plays Georgia and Atlanta. USC, of course, has Notre Dame, Fresno State. There's some other cool games, too. Arizona, with the Washington State transfer, Jaden Delort, quarterback, plays Mississippi State. ASU plays Oklahoma State. Oregon State, watch out for them. They play Boise State, and then Washington State playing Wisconsin. Some cool games, like this year more than most. I think everybody got the message that, it was like Auburn back in the day. They called themselves the People's Champs because that's when the SEC was no good and they went 12-0. You can't play East Chattanooga Tech in November and that be your toughest non-conference. So we're going to see this year. Utah at Florida is really the game I can't wait to watch. And Tennessee versus Pittsburgh, come to think of it.
You let Shane in. I was going to ask you, Shane, from that Rose Bowl last year, and I said it a couple of times this year, you win championships by recruiting unless your name's Kyle Whittingham, and then you outcoach everybody. Utah is year in, year out the best coach team, I think, in college football.
Yeah, Utah's they're solid. Like I said, Tom said, a couple special talents on that team. Olave, Smith, and Jigba. We played well, and we had to put a lot of points on the board. And Utah. I agree with Raj. They are definitely still going to be a contender this year. But I'm excited to see just kind of how this plays out. Like you said, there's a lot of cool games this year.
All right, Tom, pressure on you. Your first show. Who wins the Pac-12?
I'm as long as their defense can hold up. Losing Devin Lloyd at linebacker, he was kind of the catalyst of that defense. Generational talent. He just his story where he came from. I think that ignited a lot of passion in that team. If they can recover from him, obviously moving on to the next level, I with the experience at quarterback, I don't see anybody getting past Utah. I think they've got a hunger still, but coming up just a little bit short in the Rose Bowl. So I think that's going to fuel them a little bit moving into the season. So I think Utah is probably the team to beat.
There's so many guys from LA on Utah that USC and UCLA passed over, and they turned 3 stars into 5 stars via coaching in 2 years. Whereas USC, especially with Clay Helton, who I'm not allowed to say his name, 5 stars into 2 stars. They just, it's de-evolution. And that's because of Whittingham. I agree. They still have Clark Phillips III, the corner, who's going to be a first-round pick in my opinion. But they also lost Nefe Sewell, the other linebacker with Devin Lloyd. And those guys were monsters. I think Sewell's on the Saints now. So we'll see. But like you guys said, they don't need names. These guys come out of nowhere, and they become really good football players because of their coaching staff.
Yeah, it's a great staff. It definitely is that. And quickly, and we'll expand on this a little more next week. I just want to get your impressions. We're on the West Coast. Let's jump to NFL for just a second, then we'll wrap it up. Go around one time, and we will expand on this topic next week. So add it to your notes for next week. The NFC AFC out west are just the powers of the NFL. I'm doing my rankings right now, and 7 of my, I think it was 12 best teams are either in the NFC West or AFC West. That being KC, the Raiders, who people forget, at the Bengals, at the Verge, plus they added Devontae Adams. The Chargers, great football team, added Khalil Mack. Denver, everybody said they had all the pieces for a Super Bowl team except for quarterback, adds Russell Wilson. You've got the defending champions in the NFC, Rams, or Super Bowl champs. We've got the 49ers, who have been on the verge the last 2 years. To me, one of the young teams that I still can't get a grip on. I actually thought last year they regressed a little bit, but there's a ton of talent in Arizona with the Cardinals. Really, the only team out west that you wouldn't call a contender would be the Seahawks, rebuilding under Drew Lock. Are those two divisions so good that somebody cannot win the Super Bowl from them? Or I guess last year we saw that with the Rams. Who is your pick? We'll start with you, Tom. Handicap those two divisions down a little bit, and Shane, we'll come to you. Raj, final words on that one. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, you look specifically the AFC West, just quarterback position. I mean, these guys they're just gunslingers. And you you look at, they're going to play each other twice a year. And they're going to beat the hell out of each other. Pardon my French. So, but you're going to see probably some of the best football maybe in the last 25 years in these interconference games, because Herbert wants another shot at it, and he's going to be gung ho about getting another chance. So looking at that, as far as maybe the fact that they have to play each other twice in one season, maybe they won't make it to the championship game. But one team that really, to me, that I think is good, has a big question mark on it, is the 49ers. Like, what are they doing with Garoppolo? Do they really think that their young quarterback is going to be able to take the reins and do really what Jimmy G's been able to do when healthy? I'm not too sure. I think they kind of given up on Jimmy G a little early. So, if they don't have a quarterback, they don't win, and it's pretty proven the last couple of years. But the Raiders, to me, are the team that could possibly break out. Devontae Adams with Carr at quarterback, they've got a good relationship. They've got young pieces on defense, and it's going to be exciting to watch. So, I mean, obviously, the betting favorites are going to come out of those two divisions. But as an NFL fan, I mean, 2022 season is definitely one that's going to be exciting to follow.
For sure. Brendan, are you ecstatic? I mean, I'm a big Russell Wilson fan, and all we've heard for 3 years is how Denver's built for a championship. Did they take that leap with Russ under center?
I think so. I really think they did. Russ has always been solid. He's, needed pieces around him. He's turned guys into pieces around him. He might be kind of getting to the downslide on his career, maybe another 2-3 years. But I'm excited to see him in this new system. That AFC West is just a juggernaut. I mean, it really is. And watching those games is going to be fun. I think the Raiders, man. I know people sleep on Derek Carr, but with Devontae Adams and Waller, I mean this is a team to watch out for. It's very explosive. This is one of those teams that can score in like 25 seconds if need be, and they're going to be fun to watch this year. But yeah, to the NFC West, I agree with Tom. There were reports about Jimmy G getting traded or open up to trade talks or whatever now. But Trey Lance has not really done much. I mean, he's played a little bit here and there, but again, this is a quarterback league, an offensive-driven league. I don't see him competing with the teams that he's got to compete with in this division. Rams, Cardinals. I mean, maybe they get one up on the Seahawks here. That's going to be tough. But to your point, to your question, I really like the Raiders coming out of this, but I don't know. Broncos definitely, with Russell Wilson, is a new life.
All right, Mr. AFC West Raiders fan. I before you go to the Raiders, said it. The Kansas City Chiefs, even though Tyreek Hill checked out, Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes is still there. Do they find enough at wide receiver to be elite still?
I could probably get 7 touchdowns with Mahomes. Sit on my butt in the corner.
I'm glad you didn't say Randall because I'm handicapped and old. So yeah,
that guy can put the ball anywhere. They went out and got Juju Smith-Schuster, who, I'm a USC guy. He can create separation, but he's not the fastest guy in the world. I think he was overrated, but a great personality. They went out and got MVS, that Marquez Valdez Scantling from Green Bay. So they got guys, Edwards-Helaire. They got Ronald Jones from Tampa, the running back. It's going to be interesting, though, because somebody, I can't remember who just retired on the offensive line, but their line has been so strong for so many years. And to me, that's a huge thing. When they have lost, it's been when you got after Mahomes. And if you notice that, that's what everybody else in the AFC West did. The Raiders have Max Crosby. They went out and traded for Chandler Jones, two ends that are going to get after it. Denver's got Bradley Chubb. They went out and signed a great defensive tackle, underrated signing from the Niners, and I'm blanking on his name right now. What's his name? Anyways, it's, and they've got a great secondary. So I think Kansas City will take a step back just because, the Chargers, Khalil Mack, but J.C. Jackson, like one of the best corners from New England. Everybody's like blueprint is to stop the Kansas City Chiefs. Mm-hmm. And, the NFL is different. They couldn't pay Tyreek Hill. So as for the Raiders, whenever something good is expected, something bad happens. It's just we can't help it. We were like 12-4 years ago, and
hey, you're not the Browns. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, not that.
That's my Lions.
Breaks his leg. With the Raiders, its offensive line is an issue. I think they went out and had some undercover signings on the DL. Linebacker and corner is kind of weak, but they can get after it on end. And everybody forgets, America's favorite H&R Block employee, and that is Hunter Renfrow. I love Renfrow. He's amazing. You ever need anything on third down, anything of importance, you go to him. Doesn't drop the football. I was at that Raider-Bengals game. You guys remember, and I'm still thawing out from it. But, yeah, they gave them everything they could. And with Renfrow was really, they couldn't cover him. So you got Renfrow, Waller, Demarcus Robinson from the Chiefs, and then obviously Devontae Adams. So they're going to have a lot of firepower, and we'll see. There is going to be a war of attrition, though, and our dude's going to get hurt and affect the outcome. Maybe. Some teams, if you look like the Niners out west, their schedule's not that tough, and their defense is loaded. They drafted well on defense, even though they didn't have a pick till the second round. If Deebo Samuel, is he still PO'd at the Niners?
He is.
They better figure that out. But
contract year, he'll be playing.
He better be, because he's pretty much the biggest beast in the league right now. The Rams, is there a Super Bowl hangover? I think so. They have a lot of stuff in one place, but they got pretty fortunate a lot of down the stretch. Cooper Kupp finally stayed healthy. You got Aaron Donald, but there's a lot of names on that. And until they won that ring, I was calling them paper champions, but they won. Arizona and Seattle. I mean, Seattle was 7-10 last year. I love Pete Carroll, but he should have walked. They should do a total rebuild. And they won 7 games because of Russell Wilson. That's it. Getting Drew Lock and Noah Fant. I mean, they got fleeced in that trade. And, right now I think Geno Smith is the starter and Lock is technically set to back him up. So those guys are screwed.
Yeah.
So before other fan whines, I'd just like for all of y'all that lost the Super Bowl up 25 points to raise your hands.
Yeah.
I just settled for making it to the playoffs. I mean, I don't know about you. I mean,
playoffs.
Detroit, we hang banners for playoff wins.
I was pretty stoked to be like people talking about the Raiders coming into wild card weekend. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Usually we're talking about the draft right now.
I appreciate your humble opinion on the Raiders this time when you're typically biased on your teams. But the Raiders, I'm a fan of this year. They're going to be someone to watch out for.
All right. Then this is a perfect opportunity to move into the next segment of the show, and it's called Bet Your Nuts. And Robbie Davis didn't text me one, and I don't know if he's on still. He was here earlier, but I do have one to lead you all off. And for the first time in 2 years, I can get plus money on the Atlanta Braves to win the division. Down 2.5 after All-Star break. Probably going down 3.5 because they face Shohei coming out of the All-Star break. So I don't like their shot there. Matter of fact, you might want to put some money on the Angels there. But give me the Braves plus 125 to win the Eastern Division. Brendan Chain right above me. You're next.
Well, Raj, you weren't here earlier, but as I said last week, I'm going to dip back into the golf well. Cam Smith was my pick to win the Open last week, and he came through. Probably not going to happen this week, but I'm going to give it a shot. So we're going to the 3M Open.
You've got a better rate than Robbie on hitting NASCAR, so I'd stick with it.
So although Tony Finau is the favorite to win at plus 1,200, if you're feeling froggy, sprinkle a little bit on that. But I like his top 5 finish at plus 300 money. It's not a huge field. There's not big names in it. He plays well at this course, and I really like him to finish top 5 at plus 300.
That's a good pick. I'm going to go, which way do I need to point? No, it's wrong way. That guy, the new guy over in the corner.
The new game. Well, this is a segment that I definitely got to work on is the gambling and all that, the picks. But since we just had, what's that?
We're bad. You don't have to work that hard.
Oh well, since we just had the All-Star game here the other day, we'll kind of go down that or the home run derby. We'll keep to that theme. Aaron Judge leads all of baseball, 33 home runs. So I think there's like 92 games played total, and he's hit 33 in them. So there's 70-something games to be played. Does his streak, because he's been on fire. I mean, he's just everything in his zone he's putting over the fence. Does his streak continue moving forward as pitchers decide, well, I'm not going to throw to this guy? And then come into September, now weather has a play, the ball doesn't travel as far. So I'm going to say the over-under Aaron Judge home runs, I think it starts to tamp down a little bit, but I like the over-under total of 52 for the season.
That's I like that too. That's
nice.
Pretty. I like that one. Hey, good job.
Absolutely, I'm right.
Robbie just texted. He wants me to pick Richard Petty to win the NASCAR race this week.
I thought, what about Dick Trickle? I mean, everybody forgets about Dick Trickle. We got a tie
Dick
card.
Trickle.
So. Race.
Cole Trickle was in a
yellow number 5.
Yeah, yeah.
Cole Trickle. Yeah.
All right. From the home office in LA, I had private chat. The man, the myth, the guy who drove 107 miles to get here on time and barely missed it. From beautiful El Segundo, California. I don't even know where you're from.
Sunset Beach, California, but El Segundo is on the 110 and 405. Actually gotten a lot nicer. Laker compound is there, and it's on the way to USC and Dodger Stadium.
Oh,
I'm for real from there.
Well, it's not Rancho Cucamonga.
It's a joke. Yeah. I got a buddy from Rancho, by the way. Dodgers single A team, the Quakes. That's a great name. Very ominous. But just to show you guys that I'm not as huge of a homer as I really am, even though, God forgive me, I hate the San Francisco Giants with a passion. Tomorrow I'm going to I'm not going to bet on them physically, but I think they are going to win at plus 160. Carlos Rodon, Tom knows him well. 260 RA. Hell of a guy, great stuff. The Dodgers are throwing out Mitch White. Haven't even named a starter for the day after. So it's kind of concerning because you don't want to come out of the break and lose to those jerks. But tomorrow, Rodon versus Mitch White. Mitch White just got shelled in St. Louis. I think the jerks win a close one, and so I will take the Giants plus 160 in name only. I'm not actually going to do that because then God would really strike me down.
I can see that hate in your eyes in doing that.
I hate those guys.
All right, guys. Just quickly, final words going around again. I want to take the chance to welcome Tom. I think it's going to be great. We have some things we'd like to do, including kind of having some conference-related spinoffs. You might see a couple of us guys get on here and discuss the weekend in the Big Ten or the weekend in the SEC or the weekend, big game. There's always opportunities to expand the network. We have 7 people that pretty well podcast on this network every week. So I feel like the next move is to add more shows. So Tom gives us some flexibility. Tom is so knowledgeable. Even if he wasn't sitting here, I would tell you, Tom knows his. I was the oldest fan and still is of his show, Speakeasy 330. I was there every week, and I appreciate it, Derek. Moderating these guys are easy. They know their sports, but I want to welcome Tom and Robbie Davis. Thank you for the nice comment, Derek. I appreciate it. Moderating these guys is easy until they get into the bourbon too heavy. Get feeling better, Robbie, and up on vacation doing the yeoman's work. Brandon Shane, you showed up even on vacay.
I did. The wife and daughter are in the bedroom right now, banging on the door waiting to get out. So, what's that?
Wanting us to shut up so they can go to bed.
Yeah, they're ready to. No, I think my daughter's ready to run around here. So, no, it's been fun. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you.
Glad to have you. You had a great element. Like I said, even though you're a Michigan guy, still got to hear that side of it. I'm going to give you crap on this every day.
I expect it. I would only hope.
And, no, it's fun. Robbie, get better. Looking forward to next week, talking a little bit more NFL and not so much MLB.
Yeah, there'll not be that much MLB. And I love MLB, but we won't do as much MLB next week. I got it out of my system today.
You're good. I got to talk golf, so I was happy.
I know we could do if we could do an hour and a half on golf, it would be
minimums and no overdraft fees are another reason banking with Capital One isn't.
Hey, we're not sponsored by Capital One. You cut that stuff off.
I don't know why that just started playing. This is my work computer, and it's just the worst.
Tom, go ahead with your final words.
Well, first off, I just want to thank all the guys here that welcome me in and having me be a part of the show, and it really means a lot to me, and I appreciate all the kind words that everyone has said, and Randall, I just to find somebody that has the passion to expand and grow the network, you'll be hard pressed to find, and I'm so thankful that our paths have crossed through podcasting and through this format, and to be able to be sitting here in Michigan, to be with all these guys and doing this show, man, this is like a dream come true. I've always wanted to talk sports. Sports radio has always been kind of my thing, and I've always wanted to be a part of that, and being able to join this group of guys that are just intellectually sound and have such great opinions and knowledge of many different sports is I'm honored to be a part of it. And frankly, I feel like I've got a lot of work ahead of me to catch up to the information that everybody brings. So, my promise to you guys, I'm going to bring my A game every week. And I'm just so thankful that you welcomed me in to be a part of the show. And I look forward to what it's going to become, because I really feel like, the sky's the limit with all of us, the knowledge that we all bring, and with Randall leading the pack. And I'm just excited for the beginning of what's going to be, and thank everyone for welcoming me.
You just got to watch that group chat. It can get ugly at times, especially when birds get too deep into the bourbon. I won't say no name. Brandon Chang. All right. Welcome in the group chat. The group chat's better than the podcast. If we could put the group chat on there, we would, but we wouldn't last 5 minutes.
I've enjoyed that.
Yeah, Rod's meta late as always on Central Meta time. Final words, sir.
Hey, legit this time. Enough of the hug fest. Yes, Randall's a great cat herder, and he deals with us, which I'm sober today, but usually it's not easy. That's my transition. It's very professional. I felt like it was seamless and very experienced. And so when you said you'd like to be a part, I was like, wow, and maybe we're doing something right. A lot of fun, but enough of the hug fest. I knew Shane was on vacation from the motel art behind him in the Airbnb, whatever that thing is. It drives me nuts when you see the same freaking pictures. Dodger Stadium, we load the Giants. I said them earlier, but, we gave cheers to Jock. Jock, by the way, came up. His music was Dancing Queen. As we all know, Jock don't give a you-know-what. Blonde hair, the pearls. He's a figure that's a lightning rod. And he got an ovation. Corey Seager, of course, now in Texas, got an ovation. The guy who got booed the most was Jerkface Machado, and that guy can jump off a bridge. And finally, we don't want to get into this too politically, so to speak, but, we've talked about gun violence in the country, and it just continues and continues until something is done. But this is to Anthony Richardson, the Florida Gator quarterback, who's pretty much known as AR-15 for rifle arm, so to speak, most of his life. And he publicly said, I that's not my nickname anymore. Do not call me an assault rifle. And I thought that was big of him. That's an impressive thing to do in an area where, sometimes many people will disagree with him, and sort of believe that he's anti certain amendments and whatnot, where I think it was just humanity. So big ups to the kid taking over for Emory Jones. I thought that was pretty awesome. We talked about Billy Napier. Last thing, he said, better people make better players. And, they've got some quality kids over there, including Anthony Richardson. It'll be a while, but, maybe no longer are giving up character and academics and whatnot just for on-field ability. So it makes it hard not to root for them a little bit. I mean, not really, but you know what I mean. And that's it.
I think the kid was amazing. It's amazing how somebody does some whole act. And y'all know I'm a Tennessee graduate, and I love the University of Tennessee, but I root for kids. And I thought that was a heck of a statement from a kid, a young man that was able to just say, if it means something to somebody, I'm going to do this. So great show, guys. Hug Fest back. Brandon, whatever hotel you're staying in, slip my resume to them. I can buy better art than that crap behind you.
I know.
Somebody needed to say it, because the uncomfortable part of it was just getting to the point where somebody needed to say it. Okay.
You don't like just looking at the ocean? Man, come on now.
All right. From Michael's, this is Randall Cunningham with Brandon Shane, the new guy, Raj. We are Reckless Speculation. We'll see you next week.